Recipes are a great way of condensing down information when trying to communicate information related to one dish from one cook to another. They can help guide in the proportioning of seasonings, the balancing of flavor profiles, and the overall creation of the dish. But I personally think that recipes really serve as just the introduction or the platform to spring off of when it comes to the creative cooking process. For me, there's a whole lot to be said that can come about when you stray from the recipe and enter the recipe off-roading regime. This tzatziki chicken pasta is one such expression of that creativity. For this, I didn't start out the experience with a dedicated recipe that I was going to follow in the creation of the dish. Rather, I knew generally speaking what was going into a tzatziki, and I'm also from the Midwest, so I'm damn well familiar with a good pasta salad. So now, having a general platform and knowledge of both of these two, I've gone about combining them in my own unique way. Now, before anyone says this, of course I'm not inventing anything new here. This pasta salad is hardly novel in the grand scheme of things, but what is novel is my investigation of the flavor profile as I'm bringing it together. Tasting for notes like acidity, freshness, saltiness, and adjusting as necessary to bring it all together to get the final product that I'm chasing. It's a real, the journey's more important than the destination sort of ordeal. For the tzatziki, we'll need a solid base of Greek yogurt so that we can get that spunky, sort of tangy flavor. And to that, we'll start first by absolutely liquefying half of an English cucumber via the help of a box grater. You could squeeze out the excess water of the shavings of the cucumber using a cheesecloth, but at the end of the day, I'm going for a more thin sort of viscosity, and the goal here is so that it can coat the majority of the pasta and the eventual pasta salad. But you do you. After that, we'll microplane a clove or so of garlic depending on the size. And you'll notice though that I'm not adding the garlic directly into the Greek yogurt, but rather into the juice of half of a lemon so that we can mellow out the punginess of the garlic. And we're borrowing this technique from one of the many hummus recipes that I've seen over the years. And the reasoning behind why we're doing this kind of gets a little bit above my realm of expertise as it relates to food chemistry. But at a very bare minimum, what we're essentially doing is taking this garlic and putting it into a low pH, high acidity environment. By doing so, this sort of limits the ability to create these pungy, sort of very sharp compounds that people sometimes dislike about garlic. As for the rest of the tzatziki, we'll really only need a few more things here. First, a touch of salt and pepper, next a healthy sprinkling of dill, and then just a little bit of olive oil to bring it all together. Toss that into a bowl, and then it's off to the fridge to let mellow out while we get the rest of our fixings all put together. Pay attention here now because it is pot, water, boil, pasta, drain, done. Really doesn't get much easier than that.
Next, we're going to keep with the simple steps and move on to marinating our chicken. For this, we'll weigh both the chicken and enough water to cover. Then to this, we'll add to the bowl 2% salt and 1% sugar by weight. Mix together, cover, and let chill in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, after which we'll pull them out of the brine. Pat dry on both sides, lather in olive oil, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika.
And then we'll send it off into the preheated 450-degree oven for about 15 or 20 minutes. And now in order to maintain a juicy chicken product, and one that is also safe to eat, I'm going to be pulling this chicken at about a target temperature of 158 rather than the 165. And now before anybody jumps on this, there is reason for it. Assuming that during the resting time, the temperature is going to maintain at least 158 internal, or, there might be some rise in it as it's resting and being wrapped up in aluminum foil. If we can maintain that threshold of 158 for at least 22 or 27 seconds, depending on the fat content of the chicken, we will be completely fine in terms of the ability to eliminate the risk for salmonella. And this is not necessarily just because, you're trusting me, just some random guy on the internet who has a fun little apron. This is the guidance of the USDA as it relates to both the temperature and time variables for the pasteurization of salmonella within chicken products. If you so desire, I can delve into that topic into a future video, but for now, it's time to finish that pasta salad we've been talking about. We got the pasta, it's strained, it's sitting in a mixing bowl. After that comes some diced cucumbers, a few tomatoes from the balcony garden that have been diced, salted, and drained. And then comes some feta cheese, a couple of green onions mincified, and then the cooked chicken, of course. And enough creamy tzatziki to bring joy to all of the Midwesterners at the upcoming cookout. Bring this mixture all together, and then resist the temptation to dig in directly, because if you let it chill in the fridge, I promise you it's going to taste so much better in the end. Let the flavors really mellow and come together. After it's chilled in the fridge for about maybe 30 to 45 minutes, I would definitely recommend bringing it out, taking a couple bites, seeing if it needs adjusted, whether it relates to the salts, or if you need a little bit of lemon to bring in some citrusy, some freshness to it. I'm always down to put more dill, or if you want to cut it a little bit more and have a little bit more of that savory and that sharpness, you can add more garlic. Although I will say at this point, I would typically go towards more of a garlic powder than a fresh garlic, because it's going to be very, very pungent if you just try to grate minced garlic directly into the mixture. But that about wraps up everything for today. The goal in this recipe off-roading wasn't the creation of a novel dish in any way, shape, or form, but rather it was a new experience for the home cook, me. It's me. I'm the home cook, and I'm telling my story, so I guarantee you that out on the internet, there are other recipes that walk through basically the same steps. It's a very large place with many people making very similar dishes. But for me, part of the fun is just becoming more keenly aware of the changes that are being made to the ingredients that you're using. It really makes me feel kind of like an alchemist, if I'm gonna be honest, but rather than transmuting lead into gold or, doing something interesting or fun like that, I'm just taking like base already edible food and turning it into slightly more palatable food, so alchemy. For those that are interested in using this video as their own platform for culinary explorations, I've put together a recipe PDF with ballpark proportions for the ingredients, and it's really up to you to go from there. Refine it to your liking and disliking. That's the whole point of the recipe off-roading. I don't even follow my own recipes half the time. They exist on the website just for a general vibe. Make substitutions, change things up. Just realize that as you do make the changes, you get to own the final product, whether you like it or you dislike it. If you ask me, that's how you refine and you start to build your sort of palate and build up resiliency, because sometimes when you're going to be cooking in the future, you're going to make mistakes, something's going to change, and you're going to have to know how to change and how to react and how to be a little bit more agile in that sort of environment. Whether it's too salty, whether too sweet, having more experimentation and more experience in the kitchen allows you to be a little bit more nimble and more precise in the sort of end experience you're going to be delivering when you finally plate up, either for your guests, for yourself, or whoever. Okay, I've said a lot of words. That's it. Goodbye.